I mean, what the hell is this? I really don't understand it.
What the hell is wrong with y'all? You ain't that damn good. Stop acting like it.
Ineffectual, privileged, effete, soft penis debutante.
Stop right there. Stop.
We think it amazing.
Melbourne Stars, the team that often is referred to as a necklace, or the choker, if you will. As we all remember, back in BBL, whatever, they played the Renegades and they lost the unlosable grand final in Marvel Stadium. Marvel. It's called Marvel Stadium. Anyway, that's not important. We're going to have a look at the Stars lineup today, or their predicted lineup. We'll go through some of their roles, points, Supercoach, all that jazz is here. Now, about the Stars. You have a predicted lineup for us, Nath, that we posted on our socials. Read that out for us.
Alrighty. Yes, that's right. I made a fun graphic which wasn't a what's it called? There's a word for it. Freaking template. There we go. Well done. You can read my mind. It wasn't a template on Canva at all whatsoever. That I
doesn't
didn't
look
change
like
the
it.
colors of slightly. No. So basically, if you go onto our social media page, it kind of looks like Apple Notes in dark mode. And that's that's my preferred choice of
And it's cool and edgy.
phone setting. It's cool and edgy, and it makes me feel good about myself. Anyway, the Stars lineup. The openers for this is for round one. I've posted our round one predicted lineups. Okay.
And if we're wrong, it doesn't count.
Yeah, if we're wrong, it's because there's a reason. There's a good reason why we're wrong because it's not our fault. We're guessing, so you can't actually tell us we're wrong. You can only tell us we're right. And if we're right, well, then look at us. We're Nostradamus. But we can't be wrong.
No.
All right, clear.
No.
Good. Everyone knows how that works now. So following on from that, the predicted lineups are you've got Tom Rogers and Joe Clark opening the batting. Joe Clark signed with them as a replacement player for Ben Duckett. He's 117,000 wicketkeeper bat. We'll come to that shortly. We'll play the first double and then not play round two. So we'll look into that. Bo Webster, I've got number 3. We're going to guess that he's fit, even though we're unsure, but we'll say for now that Glenn Maxwell's playing. He'll bat at 4. I've got Marcus Stoinis at 5, Hilton Cartwright at 6, Tom Curran at 7, Joel Paris at 8, Hamish McKenzie at 9, Brody Couch at 10, and Mark Steckety at 11. Now, you're probably thinking, Nathan, where's Usama Mir? No, I know you're not thinking that. But now that I've said, where's Usama Mir? Now you're thinking that. See what I've done there? Yeah, brilliant. Well, he's got some international duties to fulfill for the opening 3 rounds. So, in theory, Hamish McKenzie is going to play 5 games in 3 rounds at $69,000. And that is where I want to start our discussion about the Melbourne Stars. $69,000 for the sole spinner with Glenn Maxwell in doubt and Usama Mir not playing. Surely that's a lock in your side.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. Obviously, Hamish McKenzie will be this, no doubt at this point he's going to play those 5 games in however many weeks or days or whatever you said before. And he's the spinner for the Stars. It's usually a pretty good gig. Adam Zampa did it for a couple of years.
Did all right.
And he'll bat higher than Zampa as well because he's batting 9 apparently. We'll see about that. But I think at that price, double game round 1, very tempting at that price.
It's hard not to own him in my eyes. It's just like you want a cheap double game player. You want someone who's going to be bowling on big grounds. For a spinner, you want big grounds, right? Well, round 1, he's got Optus Stadium and the MCG, the 2 biggest grounds in cricket, in Australian cricket, right? Particularly square, which is really important for spinners. Then you go to Adelaide Oval, which is long straight, also important for spinners. Then you go to the SCG, spinner friendly, and then Manuka Oval. That's the only bad matchup, but the wicket is spinner friendly. Essentially, he has 5 games with plus matchups or plus conditions, optimal conditions for spin bowling, and you're paying um, 69,400. That's that's straight in for me. Um, I don't even care if Maxwell's fit and playing. I'm still picking him at that price because the Stars have shown that they're not really comfortable with guys like Joel Paris, Marcus Deputy, Brody Couch. They prefer to bowl Maxwell 4 overs. They prefer to bowl Webster 4 overs. And Mackenzie's shown a lot when he played for Perth last year. Like I thought he was good enough to almost keep a spot on that side. And if it wasn't for the fact that the Perth Scorchers essentially have the Australia A pace bowling lineup, he probably would have kept a spot.
Yeah, you have a look at that lineup, and you could almost think with someone like Bo Webster, Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis, they're able to bowl, that maybe they don't have Joel Paris or Mark Steckity or Brody Couch. They
Mm.
don't need that, and they could carry an extra bat maybe. Yeah,
And
Hamish McKenzie.
they definitely could. Like you could say to Joe Clark, just field. We're going to put Sam Harper at keeper. You could get rid of Brody Couch or Joel Paris. Like you probably have Mark Steckity for the death bowling. But you could say to Joel Paris or Brody Couch, you're out of the lineup. We're going to bat Sam Harper at 8 essentially, and put him at the keeper.
Mm.
Um, maybe that's the way they'll go. Like it's well and truly feasible. And you know, if they're comfortable bowling Stoinis, you've got Maxwell, Stoinis, Webster, who you can get 12 overs out of some days. You've got Curran, who you'll bowl for. That's 16. Like Stoinis is not always going to bowl for, and Maxwell off a hamstring. You'll be lucky to see him bowl more than 2 overs, I think, early on. Um,
Mm.
so the big winner from that, as I said earlier, is Bo Webster.
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
yeah, no, you go.
I just, yeah, I think with just the bowling they have, it's very easy that one of those guys could drop out. Obviously,
Mm,
you mentioned Bo Webster, huge plus. Just
mm.
when, like, he was bowling last season as well a little bit, and you look at their lineup, maybe they trust Bo Webster a bit more. If he bats at 3, it's a person batting at 3 and bowling. That's very attractive. As as well as there's a couple of SuperCoach points there as well. Um, it'll be very interesting to see how the Stars roll out. Could say week 1, round 1, even game 1. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And then let's look at this structurally. The openers, Tom Rogers, Joe Clark. Now, Tom Rogers, he's he's a borderline big bash guy. He's one of those guys that he probably has 2 big innings in him a season, but nothing too serious outside of that. I don't know
The
if you
30s.
you quite agree with me on that one or not, but
There'll be 2
like
scores of 25 plus, one against the Hurricanes and one against the Strikers on New
yeah.
Year's Eve. I don't know. Something like
Um
that.
anyway, so okay, brilliant. Essentially his season looked like this. He had a 29.7 average. He played 10 games, 297 Supercoach points. A top score. Can't really tell his top score there. Won't it's complicated, but he only got 50 points in strike rate bonuses, which means he only passed 20 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Out of 10 innings, that's probably okay. Every second innings you pass 20. What you want then is a better strike rate. Um,
Yeah.
Now, at 87K, an opening batsman at 87K playing 5 games in 3 rounds, again, there's a bit of pot appeal to it. Not for me, just because you've got guys like Stoinis who also bowl. and may still get ample opportunity with the bat early on. At that price, as well as some other guys who will touch on it as we go through these team previews. But for me, I'm willing to consider Tom Rogers.
Hmm. That's interesting because I don't uh, just sort of ever. I remember watching his first game, uh, wherever they played, somewhere in Melbourne against the Scorchers during the COVID times, and when there was a pool of COVID replacement players that
Travis
played
Dean.
that. Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very good. Um, and you could and different players played for different teams, like game to game sort of basis things. I think that's how
James
it worked.
Seymour. He played for
Yes.
he played for the Stars, the Renegades, and the Sixers in the one season, I think. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
I I think I want that type of Big Bash back.
I do too. It's just that no one else did. Like no one watched that Big Bash, but I did. I sat at home and I was tizzing out that um, James Seymour was named in the Stars squad, the Renegade squad, and the Sixers squad in the same month, and that was
Mm.
exciting to me. But Tom Rogers did have a career come from that, didn't he?
He did, and somehow he's still here 3 years later. And
'Cause he's not
look,
bad.
I'm on a bad run of form with these accusations based on my
Yeah,
Marcus Stoinis one last week, so I'm going to refrain. However, I feel the opposite to how you feel.
fair. Actually, can you just tell me how you feel, just so that you know, if you say this, I'll go and pick Tom Rogers. He'll lead the Big Bash in run scoring, and then I'll get the thing I want.
I love Tom Rogers.
Ah, well, brilliant. He's ruined. Now, Joe Clark, wicketkeeper, bat, 117,500. Bit of outcry about this one, Patrick. Um,
Was that?
Last year, he averaged 32 points a game in 5 games. Now, I will give you the maths here, but if you put into your calculator 117,500 and you divide that by 2,900, this season's multiplier, um, you get an average of 40.
Mm,
Now, I don't know if you've picked up on this, but when you play 5 games of Big Bash cricket,
mm,
usually you get a discount. So not only was he 8 points overvalued when they announced his price, um, he might be more like 10 or 12 points overvalued because of the discount that usually gets applied. So what you're looking at there is something along the lines of he should have been around 90 to 80 to 90K, but instead he's come in
mm.
at just under 120. Now that's caused a lot of outcry on social media in the last two weeks or so. To be honest, like if he was in that 80 to 90K range, yeah, he'd be the first player I talked about in this podcast. But it's a forced trade bringing in Joe Clark. You trade him in, you have to trade him out round two because he won't play. Ben Duckett's here round two, and then for the round three double, when you're looking to hold your stars through till, you still have to sell a star, which is counterproductive, you know. So I'm not keen on Clark for those reasons because I would have made a sacrifice on that if he was 80K, but I'm not spending 30K extra when there's other keepers out there like Matthew Hurst, who I've talked about in the past. Now,
Mm.
in saying that, what are you doing with Joe Clark? Are you eyeing him off as your keeper, or are you thinking about staying away as well?
Be pretty tempting with Joe Clark. He is obviously on the cheaper end when you look at the keepers this season. Unfortunately, like you just said, Matthew Hurst, very similar price, if not the exact same.
The
Um,
exact same, yeah.
the exact same. So it's like, do you want the Scorchers guy when uh, the guy that's meant to be in Matthew Hurst's his spot is touring around with the Australian Test team. Or do you want the guy that's going to play 2 games and nothing else after that? We'll talk more
Yeah,
about the Scorchers in our next episode, but that's pretty cut and dry, I think.
and I think this is the same. I posed the same question on a recent article for Honeyball, where I got asked, what was I thinking of doing at the keeper position, and I was like, I actually haven't really thought about the keeper position when I first got asked that. I just put Jimmy Pearson in there because he was cheap and he played the double round 3 and he was opening. I was like, why not? Let's see if that pans out, right? But then when I went away and thought about it, I applied a little bit of a lens to it. I'll see if I can get the exact sort of logic here. You'd think I'd remember it, wouldn't you? Considering I used it. But the
No,
first thing I did, I had 3 criteria I wanted to follow. A double game round in the first 3 rounds of the season. Okay.
sure.
Um, a role in their side which is conducive to SuperCoach points, which typically means you're batting in the top 3.
Yep.
Um, and that they're under 100K. I didn't want to waste money at the keeper position. Now, I knew that going in, there was very few people that could fill this role. Sam Harper was one of them. Pre Joe Clark signing, Sam Harper was tipped to open. And at that price, you pick him, you start him. You're not even spending the value of Joe Clark or Matthew Hurst at the keeper position across 2 players there with Jake Doran and Sam Harper. But you're not even spending 100,000 if you went down that track. But you're not going to now. You apply those 3 criterias. Actually, if you apply the double game round criteria, you're left with 6 guys: Joe Clark, Tim Seifert, Josh Philippi, Tom Alsop, Jimmy Pearson, and Matthew Hurst. Now, for the sake of this, I was like, well, let's see if we can narrow this down to a double in the first 2 rounds, right? Which knocked 3 of them out and left me with Clark, Seifert, and Hurst. Now, all of a sudden, you're thinking, okay, we've really narrowed it down. Then I've applied my price criteria, which is under 100K. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that knocks them all out, Nathan. Yes, it does. So what I did was ordered them from cheapest to most expensive, which ended up removing Tim Seifert from that little frame of thinking, which I don't mind because he has a buy round 3. Um, and then the final sort of logic I used was who plays the most games in 3 rounds, in the first 3 rounds. Tim Seifert plays 3 in the first 3 rounds. Joe Clark plays 2 and Matthew Hurst plays 4. Availability is the best ability. Therefore, Matthew Hurst is my keeper option.
Almost fell asleep during that. Yeah, no, I think Matthew Hurst is definitely the option. Yeah.
There's some TISM
I,
stuff there for you.
oh, look. Yeah. um, any more points that you wanted to just mention in the Stars lineup, Nath?
Yeah, I mean, let's look at Tom Curran. He is owned by 30% of super coaches, rightly so. He will, he, I think he'll bat 7. I don't know how many batting points you're getting from Tom Curran this summer. Like you look at that lineup, you see at full strength, it's got Ben Duckett in there opening the batting. It's got Bo Webster. It's got Glenn Maxwell. It's got Marcus Stoinis and Hilton Cartwright. Like on paper, that's a that's a title winning batting lineup. Like that is the best batting lineup in the comp, right? Now the only weakness there is Tom Rogers, who worst case scenario is out in 6 or 7 balls. Like it's not a big deal. You just get the good guys in faster, right?
Best case, he
Um,
gets out in the first.
yeah, well there you go. Or he does something with the bat. And then the cherry on top of all of those guys is Tom Curran. Now, I think you'll see the Stars put up some bumper scores, which is going to mean that Tom Curran gets a lot of wickets defending these bumper scores. And that's sort of where I'm looking at it. I'm looking at Tom Curran as a pure bowler this year. Of course, if the batting lineup's out of form, Tom Curran might be a one-man team because he can bat really well. He's shown he's capable of batting as high as 5 in the Big Bash, right? Like he's a very capable batsman, and he's a very good death bowler. Um, yeah, big ground the MCG. Not sure what his career average is there. I do remember he got tonked around by Marcus Stoinis in one of those innings. But if I go to venues and I go to the MCG, he's only played 4 games at the MCG for a 34 and a half average. That's a bit interesting.
Mm.
Um, so there's that. But otherwise, I'm not sure if there is many other points here for the Melbourne Stars. Have you got anything else to cover?
Uh, Not really. No, I say this with full confidence. I wouldn't have Paris, Couch, or Steckity in your team. If there's anyone, I say anyone, and then I mention 3 people that you don't want in your team, it's Paris, Couch, and Steckity. Like, there's just you expect that the bulk wickets will be taken by Curran, as he'll have the right to bowl whatever over he wants. There'll be a power surge over. There'll be probably 2 death overs and another over somewhere. Hamish Mackenzie being sort of the lone spinner, sort of not, with how we'll see how Glenn Maxwell does. They
And
trust
being
Bo
cheap as
Webster.
hell.
Bo Webster bowled last year. There's some backlog stuff there. Stoinis has been bowling heaps for Australia in the T20s. Does that mean anything? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
And
you know,
Cartwright's rolled the
Paris,
arm over a little
Couch, and
bit.
Steckity.
Cartwright's rolled the arm over a little bit as well.
Mm.
So plenty of options, hey?
He's played a test match. He got hit in the box in Sydney.
Oh, yeah, but he hit a 4 first ball in his test career.
Mm.
So that made me feel good.
Mm.
I hope he gets another game at some point.
That's not going to happen. That wraps up our Stars team review. I think.
Yeah.
Quick
That's
little
pretty good
22
timing,
minutes
I
for
reckon.
you. I
Yeah.
think so. It gets you a little bit of an opinion piece from us. You get, some numbers. A little bit of something.
Yeah. It's good from us.
Yeah. Well,
We should talk about the orange team, the Perth Scorchers.
the orange team.
The
I
orange
don't mind
team.
the Perth Scorchers. They're a good team, the Perth Scorchers.
They are. Well, we'll talk about them on the next one, yeah?
I think we will.
Cool.
I think
All
that's
right.
the plan.
Well, let's go do that.